Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Bull and Specs. I'm Adrian Lacey, he's Shane O'Connor. Can you believe it's episode 9, Shane?
I can't actually, although we do have 2 missing episodes, don't we? So in fairness, people would be forgiven for thinking, hang on a second, when I count all these, they don't add up. It's like, it's a mysterious serial number, isn't it? It kind of just baffles and fools everybody. But yeah, episode 9. How was your week?
Well, it was all right, actually, thank you. Although possibly a little on the quiet front, apart from a lot of carols, because it's that time of year and I sing in a choir. It's a hobby thing, don't get overexcited. But as you'd expect, we are busy this time of year. And if we're not performing, we seem to be rehearsing. But more importantly still, first gig of the season last night, and horror of horrors, I speak as a vegetarian of 25, no, not really pescatarian, I eat fish, but I don't eat meat.
Right.
Horror of horrors, there wasn't a single savoury snack after our concert last night. And I think that's a pretty poor show in the 21st century.
What do you mean, there wasn't one at all? Or there wasn't one
for vegetarians or pescatarians, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So that's Christmas gone as far as I'm concerned.
Couldn't you eat ham, wafer thin cut?
You're like my father-in-law's mother. He used to say, in response to someone saying, if you've got anything that hasn't got meat in, she'd say, well, there's not a lot of meat in chicken.
No. Can you eat beef? Is that
just a little bit?
You just had a little bit on with quite a lot of bread. With the bread with the bread absorb the meatiness.
I'm not coming round to you for Christmas, but you'll probably find that quite encouraging.
Oh dear!
Something tells me you don't quite get this new fad of a couple of 100 years or whatever it is now.
I do, but I just have great. But in fact, I got to credit the Royal Family because I think that was from them, not the Royal Family, the TV program, the
comedy show, yeah,
the comedy show, the Royal Family, where I think Anthony brought home his girlfriend and said, "Oh, she's a vegetarian," and Barbara says, "Will you not eat ham?"
I think they can kind of slip it past you.
Well, it's only very thin meat, isn't it? So therefore, can I? I always ask, and if you don't want to tell me, you don't want to tell me. I'm quite happy with that. Why are you vegetarian?
Well, guilt is one.
Yeah,
it's a complex of things. They all came at the same time, really. I also started at the BBC, and no offence to the Works canteen at the BBC, but it seemed that if there was ever going to be a good time to give up meat.
Yeah.
Also, it coincided.
In fairness to them, you couldn't really tell meat from vegetation in the BBC canteen anyway, could you? As Morecambe and Wise would attest to on many occasions, So, funnily you should say that, because I used to work. I had a producer who was vegetarian. In fact, I think she was vegan. I think she still is, actually. I don't know why I'm saying it in the past tense.
Right.
And I got a real telling off from somebody at one stage because the guilt thing. Because I'm an animal lover as much as you are, a real animal lover, and the guilt thing. And I kind of think, and she sort of said, well, how I don't understand how you can profess to like animals and yet you can do that, and it's a very good point, but I haven't really got an answer for it really, so I still do eat meat but still love animals.
Not small kittens normally.
Not this one anyway. I've got you can see in the picture Twiglet is back again. Can I just say this kitten does move. She was here in the last episode. In fact, she slept through the whole last episode. She's actually having a quick sneeze now, but she does. I've not sort of stapled her to the desk or anything. She does actually move around. I just wanted people to know that. But yeah. I mean, how can you love a fluffy kitten, Adrian, and eat? Like I was going to keep chickens at one stage, and I kind of thought, I can't, just for the eggs. But I thought I couldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't. It's difficult, isn't it?
But then pigs, you see, is there any love in their eyes?
Oh God, I'd name them all. There's no way I could be a farmer. Cows, I've got cows at the field at the back of us here, and there's I'd give me an hour and they'd all have a name.
Okay, go on then.
So okay, I'll be back in a minute. No, do you know? So it's like I'd be a farmer for like 2 days, and then they'd come and he'd say, "I've come to collect your livestock," and I go, well, you're not taking Harry. What are you on about? Not Harry. And if Harry's staying,
our Harry.
Yeah, I don't know whether they've all got men's names, the cows, but there you go. That's another story for another day. So sorry, you said guilt, and was there another reason?
Yeah. So the BBC canteen, bless it. But no, I'm not knocking it. I mean, it's just like any works canteen, really. And I'm sure it would be better today, actually. And then what else was there? Oh, well, I mean, no laughing matter, but it's only shortly afterwards that the CJD thing came to light.
Oh, wow,
BSE and all those letters. Mad cow disease, as it became known. Or Mad Harry disease, as perhaps you would call it.
Yes, as I would call it, yeah.
And then I suppose it just got easier and easier to be vegetarian because there were more and more outlets that would cater for you. Nowadays, it's got easy to be vegan, but I've got no answer to that. If you want to catch me out, you will. But you wear leather shoes or whatever, or why aren't you a vegan? Do it properly.
That's a hell of a lifestyle shift, isn't it? Though, don't you think? That is. I could like vegetarianism. I could at a push. I think. Well, I could cope with that. Veganism. I don't know. That is a real shift of lifestyle, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah, I always remember a line from Absolutely. Who were the two? I think it was Jack Doherty played. Obviously, there were about 5 or so of them. This will mean nothing to people who haven't seen the Scottish surreal comedy series, although it is back again, isn't it? I don't know if you've noticed.
I don't. Do you know? I don't remember it first time. I'll be honest with you.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh well, I've built it up, but actually, it was just a line saying. They were going through, what does a vegetarian eat, what does a pescatarian eat, and finally they got to vegan. He said, Your vegan eats nothing. Absolutely nothing. Which kind of summed it up for me then.
Yeah.
That gave me a reason not to be a vegan.
And wears nothing as well, yeah. That's so what did you eat in the end after the carols? What did you end up?
I was forced, against my better nature, to have more desserty type things and cake. And not mince pies, but they had these wee little, since we're talking about Scotland, they look like mini Christmas puds, but you'd have to eat about 20 to get the equivalent.
Well,
and by golly, I went for it.
I got to tell you, as my brother said to me only this Saturday just gone, with regards to cheesecake, he said that's going to do nobody any good sitting in the fridge. And he's right, isn't he, really?
Great attitude.
Yeah.
Well, just before we move on to your week, which we must, did you hear, apparently this went viral, that Quorn, because of course I might as well have huge stocks and shares in Quorn. All the money I've given them over the years as a veggie or part vegetarian. It's a sort of mycoprotein, as they call it, or some mushroom fungal thing, but not bad fungus, hopefully. Okay. Anyway, it's a meat substitute. But they got their fingers burnt when on their packaging for sausage rolls, it said in rather large letters at the top, 12 sausage rolls, and then an asterisk, and underneath it said, if you cut each of the 3 into 4.
Do you think they did it on purpose, though? Is that? Do you think it was like a kind of...
You could have a conspiracy theory because you like those, don't you?
No, well, I'm thinking of what because you always say this and you go, the marketing thing is to say, well, if we do this, it will go viral. Everybody will be talking about Quorn sausage rolls because they're the ones you cut up or whatever, and it could be good for sales, couldn't it? Really, I don't know.
Well, that's if you don't think people are going to take the view. Well, you're cheating us, or at least you're being economical with the truth. Let's put it that way. There was some term used. I'm trying to remember what it was. Brazen. Someone called it on Twitter. It went viral on Twitter and other social media. Being
economical with the truth, not to mention economical with the sausage rolls as well, really. But
certainly the number of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my shocking week.
It's a shocker, isn't it, really?
Beat that. I
gave blood yesterday.
No way. Oh, here we go. Did you say... what is it? A pint? I did blood. That's half an armful.
I did say to my dad, yes. He said, "How did you get on?" Because I went to in the village where he lives. That's where I went to give blood. So I went to see him have a mince pie and a cup of tea after. It seemed like a good excuse. And he said, "How did you get on giving blood?" And I said, "Do you know how much they wanted?"
Did your dad see where it was going?
Oh, we absolutely straight away. And he said, "And what did you say?" And I said, "That'll be fine." You'll have to look up references. I did Google Hancock the blood donor if you want to figure that one out. Maybe you're living under a stone, you don't know what we're talking about. No, the only reason I mention it is, we've talked about the NHS and how very often it doesn't get things right. The one exception to that is the blood service. I think I've given over 10 times now, and I only know that because after 10 they give you, just holding this up to the camera, they give you one of these, which is, let me see if you can see that, which is like a little badge with 10 on it. And I presume as you get further on, they give you more of these things. But I'm always struck by the way that they get it so right. Now, I don't know if you know this, once you've given blood, they send you a text and say, thanks for your donation. And you think, oh, that's really sweet, that's really nice of them to even bother to do that. Then they send you another text sometime afterwards and say, thanks for your recent donation, your blood has gone to...
Gosh.
And they tell you which hospital, which centre it goes to.
I thought you were going to say the name of the patient. I thought that's pretty impressive.
That would probably be a bit too intrusive, wouldn't it? Really, I guess.
Well, that could have legal implications.
I guess so. But how cool is that? And you kind of think, wow, if ever there was a service that part of the NHS that was really striving to try and improve things. And this is, from when I've given over the last sort of 10, 12, however many, I missed a few years because of travel and you're not allowed to give when you've been to certain places. But yeah, and it always strikes me, Adrian, that I come away not only feeling good, about the little things. I always feel good about what they do, actually, because they are a really great team, and all the people that you go and meet, and the nurses there are fabulous, the guys and girls that do the stuff. But then to get that afterwards, and they, this kind of acknowledgement that they appreciate what you do and how valuable it is. And they did say, actually, I was talking to one of the nurses who was taking my blood, and I said, "Are you busy at the moment?" Because it seemed a bit quiet with her. She said, "Oh, it's quiet this afternoon. It'll really pick up this evening." She said, and then December, we get loads of people who probably donate just once a year.
Right.
And I said, "Oh, that's cool." She said, "Yeah, it's great because." All right, we'd love them to donate every 6 months, but once a year is great because it's the time of year when we need the blood supplies and all the rest of it. So, if you're thinking about doing it, my message to you is, if you can and you're thinking about it, get yourself along and go and do it.
Isn't there a darker side to that, which is, maybe I'm being too cynical here, but this time of year, when it's meant to be all sweetness and light and peace and love, is it people getting into scraps on Christmas Day because they've had a skinful?
I think that's exactly what it is, yeah.
That's worrying, isn't it?
But the converse, as you say, the flip side of that is that she was saying that, people take on the message of peace on earth and goodwill to all men, and they think, how can I do a bit of good? I know, I'll go and give blood.
Yes.
So, horses for courses, isn't it, really, I suppose?
I should focus on that, shouldn't I, really?
Okay, I've got to talk to you about the Turner Prize, and I've got to try and run the risk of not exceeding my normal parameters of blood pressure with this one, Adrian, because it's that time of year again. Oh dear, indeed. Oh dear is the exact phrase for this one. The Turner Prize. I've said for a long time the Turner Prize leaves me very disturbed. Very, very disturbed. Can I just ask a question? For people who don't know, this is an art prize, isn't it? I didn't realise it was only $25,000 as a prize. It's a pretty paltry sum, isn't it?
You get quite a few chickens for that, yes. Boom.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. It was the winner was announced by Goldie, first of all.
Yes.
Who hails
from Goldie Hawn.
He hails from my neck of the woods, doesn't he, Goldie? I think he's a Brummie, isn't he? I think DJ.
I think so.
Yeah, he's all right. It's Goldie, the DJ. When did he? I saw him being interviewed about something else the other day. When did he become the spokesman for the country? I don't know when that happened, but that obviously.
He's obviously changed agents, and he's on the crossing.
You cynic, you rotten cynic. Anyway,
you led me up that garden path.
He announced the winner, and I thought, you know what? I read the story, and I thought, this could be the year. Famously, I think Tracy Emin won it one year with her not the bed, with her drawings.
The bed.
No, well, she did win it with the bed, but she also won it with her sketches.
Right.
Which, quite frankly. If I couldn't do better than that with a borrowed box of pencils, not even my own pencils, then I would pack it in, to be quite frank with you. And I thought, well, this could be the year that the Turner Prize becomes something that is respected within the art world. Now, I don't know how you feel about it. I love art. I'm quite passionate about art. I think it's something that's is very much needed in this world, and is something that is very nourishing to the soul, and all kinds of art. I don't understand the complexities of a lot of the stuff when people talk about it. I know what I like, and I like what I know, that kind of thing. But I've always thought with art, if I look at a piece of art and I can't say hand on heart that I couldn't do better than that, then to me it's not art. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Does that make sense? It's like I want to look at a piece, like I look at a Leonardo da Vinci, and I'll go, "Wow, I couldn't even get anywhere near that."
I prefer the Dudley Moore line when he's in the art gallery with Peter Cook said, That cartoon by Leonardo da Vinci, I couldn't get the bloody joke.
I don't know what the joke was, Pete. I have no idea what the joke was. But you know what I mean? Yeah, the beaks follow you around the room. Do you know what I mean? I have to look at that and go, could I do better? And if the answer's yes, then that's not art, is it? Isn't surely the skill of art is being able to do something to. It's like music. If I said to you I can play the banjo and I pick it up and go bang 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 bang, you think, well, I could do that. He's just hitting it with his hand. Is that music? I don't know.
Where to go with this? Well, it could be that you're next year's Turner Prize winner, which would give us all a hoot. Because the temptation is to say, well, jolly well go on and do it then if you think you can do better. Yeah. That drives a lot of people in a lot of areas, doesn't it?
I guess so. I don't know. Is that how you genuinely feel, though? I mean, do you not look at something that you... I mean, have you seen these? Have you seen these? Labana Himid is the winner this year.
Yeah.
Are those mugs? Are those the ones that she's made?
Well, hasn't she added paint? We should say she's black herself. She's from, is it Zambia? I don't want to get this wrong.
She's from an African country, but which begs the question, why on earth you'd be based in Lancashire? But hey, I mean, everybody's got to be somewhere, haven't they, really? I don't know. I'd rather be in the sunshine of Zambia than no, Lancashire's nice. It's all right. I get why she's there. Maybe that's okay. But she's made these jugs and pots, and she's drawn faces on them. But they're crap.
Calm down. Remember, we had a deal. Have you got the defibrillator to hand?
I can't. They are, though, aren't they? Don't you look at those?
I have to say I don't agree. And I'm not just doing this so that we have some tension between us. The first thing I should explain, she's put black faces onto, I believe, she's put them on pre-existing patterns. Are we agreed on that?
Oh, I see. Okay. So she hasn't even made the blooming jugs.
I knew that would anger you. She's not a potter. Calm down.
I thought, well, at least if this falls flat on its face, at least she can make jugs. I said, that's.
She better not try and sell them to you. I don't fancy her chances. What? No, I think. Look, you've got to feed into it. This will cut no ice, I know, but I'm going to say it anyway. We can all say I could have done that, but actually, she thought. What she's trying to do, it's literally a bigger picture she's going for, metaphorically, bigger picture.
Yeah.
She's trying to put Britain's colonial past into some kind of context, and I don't know about you, but the last place I would expect to see a black face is normally on a milk jug with some kind of, if not a Wedgwood pattern or a willow pattern.
But you're right. But don't you think it's diluted by the fact that the black face that's drawn on it looks like it's done by a 7-year-old child?
Well, I knew you'd say that. But not everything has to be photographic. That's what worries me. That's behind the. I'm not saying it's necessarily your complaint, but I mean, you've definitely got a complaint. Whether it's
I have got a complaint. I've got a few complaints, actually.
And another thing. I didn't fight in 2 world wars.
No, but
I admit.
No, come on, behave yourself. But no, seriously, don't you think that the message is diluted by the fact that the images are naive? I'm using artistic terms here. I want to say that they look like a child's done them, and it looks like, I knew I shouldn't have left those jugs out because my little kid's drawn all over them, and he's drawn a load of faces on my milk jug. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of.
Well, I think I'm scrolling down to I'm actually looking at the BBC News report on this, and actually there's a painting there where I don't think you'd have the same complaint. She clearly can paint.
So why has she done them like that on there then? I don't understand why you would do.
Sorry, can you speak actually within my audio hearing range? This went a bit too high for me.
This is podcast 9, especially for dogs.
I didn't hear any of that, but several Alsatians have just they're snapping at my heels. The point is, I mean, I can't help feeling that a lot of criticisms of art, it looks like a child's drawn it, it's coming from the direction art isn't art unless it's photographic. In other words, a face of a human being has to look like I would see them if they were in the room with me. But that's the job of photography, to look photographic, in my view.
No,
and of course, photography is liberated these days with software, Adobe and all that.
But if you looked at, I don't know, if you looked at a Turner painting, or I mean,
and it is the Turner Prize, yes.
I was going to say, the buzzing noise is him spinning in his grave at 720 RPM.
You say that, but I've done vast amounts of research for this show, possibly 30 seconds on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And the reason it's called the Turner Prize is because in his day, he was seen as, I don't know if they were using the phrase, well, my 7-year-old child could have done that, but he was seen as breaking all the rules. And of course, for a lot of people, he's no good then. Why can't he do a sort of John Constable type of thing?
Yeah.
Which again comes back to something being photographic.
But his wasn't photographic, was it? I mean, if you
no, but I think that's the point. The point is, it was much more impressionist, although it doesn't come under that category as such. But it's impressionistic, I should say.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called the Turner Prize. That's 30 seconds research this morning. You've not been charged.
I still don't get it. You see, I think I wouldn't go with the photographic description. I would say that, to me, if it's art, if I couldn't do that, if I couldn't do better, or if I couldn't produce the same, then to me, it has no value. If I don't look at it and go, wow, that is something that I could never attempt in a month of Sundays, that to me is art. In the same way that I described to you as music. Now, I play a bit of guitar, and if somebody said to me, well, I can play guitar, and then they just banged it with their head and said, do you know what I mean?
Well, maybe they're a headbanger.
It could be. But if that's all they did, or they slapped it with a wet fish, and I go, I'm sorry, but that's not music. That's not playing the guitar. And I think it's about time we all grew up. I find it really naive and really immature, this whole thing. I really do. And I think there's a fine line between reality and the Emperor's New Clothes, isn't there? And I think with the Turner Prize, I think a lot of it is like it is because people are frightened to go, actually, that's rubbish. And there must be. Sorry to interrupt. Let me just finish this. But there must be. There must be people, I've got a great respect for people with artistic capabilities who can draw and paint and work with clay and work with all this. They must be so disheartened where you've got a situation where people...
Can you give me some notice of when you're going to breathe so that I can quickly get in
blood, sweat and tears to learn their craft, to become an artist.
But I'm going to set you some homework, Shane O'Connor.
Yeah.
People just listening, for instance, on Spreaker may not know that we're on YouTube and we have a visual element.
Yeah.
I am setting you some homework for next week. You're going to get a milk jug, preferably with the willow pattern plate on it, or
How do you think I have made of milk jugs?
You apparently... Well, get one, buy one.
Buy one,
get one free.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Bog off.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say. I'm just finding on my phone, see if I can hold up to the camera I'm recording myself on, some of this fine artwork. But of course, people can do their own searching. But
I'll put a picture on.
I'm up to the camera.
I'll put a picture on now so people can see what we're talking about.
Fine. I'm doing it the low tech way.
Okay.
But I want you to produce a work of art. It can be your face or mine, or indeed anyone's of any colour from anywhere in the world, on a milk jug, and it has to, at the very least, equal what the winner of the Turner Prize has achieved.
No problem.
Are we on?
I can have it done by the end of the podcast if you want. It's not exactly hard, is it?
Yeah, right.
Where
are you going to get the materials?
Right.
Hang on.
Let me just ring for the butler and I'll get a milk jug and we'll see if we can get this.
Yeah, but I think you might outsource it to the butler to.
I tell you, seriously. So what you're saying? You're going to buy one, are you?
I didn't quite say that, but I think we're losing focus here. I think the fact is, because it's the old thing, because you're a bit of a musician on the side. Do you remember the old light bulb joke about how many drummers does it take to change a light bulb? This won't mean an awful lot to people who don't know the name, but just we're talking about a star drummer here. But anyway, it's 50 drummers to change a light bulb. One is Steve Gadd, and every other drummer says, I could have done that.
Right.
It's the same thing, isn't it? Steve Gadd, back in the day, this is dating me. I'm sure he's still very good. I hope he's with us, but every 10 years there's a new session drummer who's top of the pile. But anyway, he was top of the pile way back when.
But he could play the drums.
He sure could. I don't know about painting on milk jugs, but apparently anyone can do that as long as you get to the age of 7. So into the final furlong, or whatever that is in metres. Just a reminder, I'm Adrian Lacey, and my brother-in-arms, who's at a remote location, which is somewhere in the Midlands of England, is Shane O'Connor. And this is Bull and Specs. And don't forget to subscribe to us and all of that. We'll probably put that on the end as well. Gentle reminder. So our last topic today. How are you, Shane, on bitcoins?
Oh, wow. I love this. I love bitcoins. I do. I love it because it you know, I don't understand it. I haven't got a clue what's going on.
That's why you like it.
People write articles and they say, should we be investing in bitcoins? And I think, well, I'd love to if I knew what the hell they were. I might even be tempted to invest in them. But they're making the news, are they, then, these things?
They are, and it's hitting a sort of resonance point where governments are starting to think, ooh, should we be stepping in to regulate? You know, I'm sure our listener stroke viewer knows essentially it comes under the heading cryptocurrency, which is a bit of a clue. It's all a bit cryptic, isn't it?
Yeah.
But essentially it's not money you can hold in your hands. It doesn't have a sort of a tangible physical presence, a bit like me on a Monday morning. But you get it mysteriously via your computer. It's noughts and ones. I'm not putting myself up, let me say up front, as an expert on this, or indeed anything else for that matter. But essentially, it's something that, if you think the money other than what's in your pocket or wallet or whatever, these days it is noughts and ones at your bank's server, isn't it?
Well, this is the thing, is that we like to think of currency as a tangible thing, don't we? Our generation have always thought, right, there it is, it's in your hand, it's a £10 note, it's a £5 note, it's a £20 note, and you can get these services or goods for that amount of money. It's a whole new way of thinking about currency, isn't it, in a way? But I suppose, as you say, but in a way, it isn't anything new because we all bank online. We move. I remember when we bought this house and we moved house and we sold house. Huge amounts of money went all swishing around the country, and nobody ever saw so much as a pound coin.
No. You say all around the country. It might well have gone offshore for all I know. I'm not saying you're doing dodgy dealings.
I'm speaking to you live from the Cayman Islands, actually, which is why I am remote. But I didn't want to tell you that in case you thought any the less of me. That was all it was.
I think even more of you now. Although the Cayman Islands is obviously the Midlands loss. Cayman Islands gain, I should say.
Something like that.
Unless you came and went to... never mind. Anyway, so I suppose that's the way of thinking about it. I'm even talking myself into actually believing I might know a bit about this. So if you and I can accept... Actually, it's been hundreds of years since everyone at once could have taken their notes, and it did start out with... No, it didn't start out with notes, did it? It started with coins. Anyway, Julius Caesar said...
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
It's been a long time since every penny could have been paid out by a bank. It's just there isn't the physical amount of cash around for us all to have the money, even if we don't think of ourselves as wealthy. If you've just got a few quid even in, and you multiply that up around the world with everyone's funds, there simply isn't the cash out there. So we do accept, don't we, that that you can have a currency that you don't see, that you take on trust, is sitting on a server, and you hope to goodness doesn't evaporate. Or to use the Monopoly board game phrase, you might be hoping for an error in your favour by a computer server,
or at least a community chest would be nice, wouldn't it? But then you look at currencies, and they used to be. I mean, they're not anymore, which is even more confusing. They used to be pegged to a hard, tangible, precious commodity. So they used to be pegged to gold, didn't they? So you would say, well, the price of gold was pegged to your currency, and so that's how you knew how much your currency was worth. And then when we had the problem with the euro, and you remember Greece had terrible problems as well, and then you start to realise that when you've got one currency like that, it's difficult to devalue or inflate it, because what suits one country doesn't suit another country. You start to realise how complex currencies are, and how vulnerable they are as well. And this is, it's interesting because you hit the nail on the head, Adrian, when you said when governments start to get involved in these things, we all start to go, so does that mean that they're a bit more legitimate now? Because governments want to, they actually want a crackdown on these things, don't they, the British government?
Well, the very cryptic nature and even more than usual intangible nature of Bitcoin, to bring it back to that, means it is favoured by criminal gangs and operators. And I think that's what's sort of piquing the interest of governments now. If it reaches a critical level, if it's just one bloke in his bedsit on his PC, that doesn't worry anyone, really. It's not going to bring down the banking system.
You're going to go run around the room shouting, conspiracy theories when I say this.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
But don't they always say that? They go, governments say, no, we're gonna clamp down on this, and it's for your own good, children, that we're doing this. This is why we're doing it. It's for security.
Right.
It's for your safety. It's because terrorists will get their nasty hands on it. It's because drug dealers will get their nasty hands on it. Is it that, or is it because governments can't get their nasty hands on it and they can't tax it? Is that the issue, do you think?
Well, you might be finding or creating a conspiracy theorist in me as well. Because, but this is a whole other topic for a whole other day. We've had loads of legislation that's got terrorism in the title, and it turns out it's being used on anything but terrorists, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't see. I'd struggle a bit with a conspiracy theory over Bitcoin. I mean, I think it's fairly above board that governments want to control it. I mean, actually, you could say, I did meet someone once who, and this shouldn't be such an unusual thing, he thought, well, it's ridiculous for governments to even set what is in effect the price of money, which, in other words, interest rates.
Yeah.
And I suddenly thought, yeah, we don't talk about that, do we? That if the government said, yeah, we're going to set the price of blankets and marshmallows, and it's absolute, and there'll be no deviation anywhere in the UK, and anyone who deviates from it is breaking the law and so on. We'd think that's crazy, but we accept. And I know that, before you remind me that the Bank of England went independent 20 years ago, but it's still this idea that actually we are setting the price of money, or we are legislating for it.
But again, you see, there were two schools of thoughts with that, because if you listen to Gordon Brown, the reason that he did that, he made the Bank of England independent and he gave them the opportunity to set interest rates, he says, was to give them their independence and to take it out of the hands of politicians. His critics say that actually what he did was to abdicate all responsibility for interest rates, and so that the Bank of England would become responsible, and so much so that if the interest rates went down, they even had to write a letter of explanation, and some said it was almost like a letter of apology as to why the rates had gone to the level that they are. So again, there are two ways to view all of these things, aren't there? There always are two ways to view. Is it? And let's not forget the amount of money that the government takes in from taxes, just from taxing your savings. Right? I'm not talking about taxing your earnings. I'm not talking about taxing your property when you move house. I'm not taxing your assets when you die. I'm not talking about any of those things that they tax. If you think of how much they get from you, because you see, don't you get a tax statement and it says,
yeah, that's true, it's true. It's the interest they tax, isn't it?
So all of those savings, just imagine if you said, do you know what, sod this, I know what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick it all in bitcoins.
Yeah.
And we all did that. Just imagine the revenue that the government would lose, and then you see some idea of their imperative and why they want to say, do you know what, we want to clamp down on this, because it's another offshore, isn't it, in a way, but it's an offshore for the everyman, and I think that's why they're getting a bit sweaty about it personally.
Yes, although yes, I was going to mention the NHS is kind of one of the things that government want to collect taxes for, so let's not think it's all bad. But hey, that's a much wider debate for another day.
Yeah, but then again, like HS2 is another thing that they want to collect, and you think how many people are opposed to that as a concept. You can't. Yeah. It's not all great things, or like Trident or whatever.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So you can't guarantee how they're going to spend the money that they take, your money that they're going to take off you, can you? I guess.
No, and I'm forever reminded of the phrase. Was it an American president who said, "You can't please all of the people all of the time." Yeah. You certainly can't please me and you at the same time. Usually.
Anyway, here's the killer question with bitcoins.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
If I wanted one, I mean, do I want one? I don't even know whether I want one. Do I want one? Do I want a bag full? Do I want?
Don't you end up with aren't they so hugely expensive per unit now? You'd only have a fraction of a Bitcoin. But anyway, yes, you haven't finished the question.
The question is quite simple: is if I wanted is that the right terminology? A Bitcoin? Can I have a Bitcoin?
Yeah,
please?
although I think one Bitcoin isn't it in the thousands now? So you're more you might be rolling in it. If you're in the Cayman Islands, you probably are, Shane. But
this reminds me of when I was a lad, Adrian. The first time I ever went into a pub and asked for the barman for a pint of beer. A pint of beer, please.
He gave you a funny look. It's a dead giveaway, isn't it? You haven't been in here before, have you, son?
I don't really know what I buy. But sorry, the question is, if I wanted to invest in Bitcoin, where do I go? What do I do? I don't even know how. Do you know any ideas?
Online, I think, would be the first place. But the other thing is, people have their own, and you may use this. I mean, it's established technology now, isn't it? It's sort of a smartphone wallet. Have you ever used that as if you've had money on your phone?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Right, well, you're probably more across it than I am. Clearly, you'd have to do it as an electronic and digital transaction. There ain't no Bitcoin bank you can go into. In fact, only today I went to the bank to pay a check in. The bank's disappeared since I was last on the high street. That's the way it's going.
It's crazy, isn't it? I went to the bank recently to pay a check in, and the woman behind the counter pointed to the machine next to her and said, "You've got to pay it in there."
Gosh, so human beings don't interface with checks now.
So she watched while I put it, and I thought, one of us is superfluous to this transaction, and I think it might be you, love. I don't know.
God.
By the way, those watching in vision on YouTube will have noticed that Twiglet has now got up and left the building. So that means that's the end of another podcast. When the cat
that's
goes,
a sign.
That's
Yeah.
it. It's
that's like the Ravens leaving the Tower of London, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's over.
Except they won't eat the smelliest, most disgusting food you've ever clapped your nostrils on. But that's another story for another day. That's it. Listen, thanks very much for your time. If you've listened and enjoyed the podcast, we've enjoyed it. There's lots of places that you can get us. You mentioned YouTube, Adrian. You can get us on YouTube, can't you?
Yes, indeed. All you have to do is to go to YouTube and just search for Bull and Specs, and the "and" should be an ampersand. You know, one of those. Try and do it back to front squiggly signs. It's not easy. And you know what I mean anyway. It's on a typewriter or keyboard near you. I'm not making a particularly good job of this, am I? I'll throw back to you.
It's above the number 7 on most keyboards, isn't it? I've only noticed that because I just looked down and saw it. That's all it was. Yeah, same rules apply as well, the ampersand, for Spreaker. If you don't want to see the images, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to see the glorious Technicolor? I get it. Maybe you're a busy man or woman about town and you think, actually, I'd like to listen to these guys on the bus or in the park or wherever you happen to be. If you just head to Spreaker.com, that's speaker but with an R in it, Spreaker.com, and if you just put in Bull and Specs with the ampersand, you should find us there. Those are a couple of ways that you can find us. You can find us on iTunes as well if that's maybe where you normally download your podcasts from. We'll see you for episode 10 next time around, but in the meantime,
it's ta-ta from me,
and more or less the same from me as well. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.